Welcome to my first watch build. I've named this the Arctic Ice. As you can tell, it's got absolutely stunning dial, 40mm case, and a Rolex Submariner Daytona bracelet. Took me about 2.5 hours to build this bad boy. Obviously you can see the surgical tools also there. Did not need to use all of them, but majority were used. And there's that bracelet. It's a 40mm bracelet, absolutely stunning. And what you see me there doing is making sure everything's dust free, keeping it clean as possible. The luminous hands, probably the most trickiest bits to put onto the watch. Very, very delicate. And there's that stunning dial. You'll see it much better later on once it's all put together. And that is the NH35 Seiko automatic movement. It actually has a 41-hour power reserve. And here we go, taking off the case back of the 40mm. Again, keeping all the dust away. And that's one thing you'll notice me doing a lot throughout the video, is keeping it as dust free as possible. Make sure if you are dealing with watches and you're taking them apart, make sure you wear gloves, dust proof gloves, powder free gloves. And make sure you remove the crown before you start putting together the mechanism. Again, keep all the dust away from the movement itself. Really important. No dust, no oil onto the movement, because you can cause defects in the movement later on. Again, you'll see the watch pillow there. Just nice and soft, just keeps everything safe, keeps scratch proof. Otherwise, you can buy movement holders. Didn't need to buy one, didn't need to use one. And here comes that beautiful dial. It's got a lovely texture to it, and that's why, hence why I called it the Arctic Ice. As you can see, it reflects lovely into the light. It has date at 3 o'clock, so make sure when you are buying your dials and your movements, you match it up, because the NH36 has the date at 4 o'clock. You want to make sure the your dial matches up with the NH35, which is at 3 o'clock. When you are placing the dial onto the mechanism, be very careful to match the prongs that stick out of the dial into the holes. Sometimes you may need to cut them, so make sure you line it, check, double check before you push down. Otherwise you will bend those legs. If you bend them, it's a good chance you're going to have to throw away that dial. Once it's pushed on, you do want to check it, so turn it to the side, have a good look to the side, make sure it's all in. One thing when you work with watches, as I found out, don't put too much pressure on. Gentle pressure will do the job. Well, there you go. You can just see it's aligned up there. If you feel like you have to put too much pressure when you're working on a watch, don't put that pressure down. There you go. As you can see, the pole from the mechanism is now protruding from the actual dial. Here comes the hardest part, putting on those hands. This took me about 30 to 45 minutes to get all the dials. So you're talking about the hour hand, the minute hand, and the second hand. The second hand is the hardest. You want to make sure that you do pull out the stem, rotate. One thing I didn't do is show you how to get the date set, but make sure the date's set, and then put the hour hand, minute hand, and second hand. And be very careful. Make sure your hand pushers are vertical. Any horizontal plane on the hand pushers, you will bend that second hand especially. And there we go. We get a good push on now. Press down, firm-ish, not too much pressure. Again, very delicate. Takes a few attempts. As I said, first time I'm doing this, took me about half an hour, 45 minutes to get all the hands in. But once it was done, all good. There we go. One little push in and it was done. And as you can see there now, just double checking the alignment, making sure all the hands are horizontal and nothing's touching each other. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem when the hands cross over each other. Having a look from the side. Again, just take your time, be patient. This is one thing I learned about building my first watch. Patience. Good job through the meditation really helps. If you need to walk away, come back to it, but make sure you put everything away, including the mechanism, the dial, put it in a dust-free case. A little pop will do. And now you pop out the stem, give it a quick dust down. There's a little button just where the stem is, just above the stem. You press that down, it releases the stem. And now we're putting the dial into the case. Again, one last dust. Place that dial, and you'll see what I do now is I put it in first of all, but it's a slightly out. Then I flip it around, drop it onto the fingers and turn it out, and it's easier to put into the case. This way, when I dropped it in, it's just out of sync. You'll see when I turn it around, it wasn't flush to the case. So remove it, place it onto the fingers like so, and that's the best way to put the dial into the case. Again, just double check everything. Make sure again that none of the hands, especially the second hand, doesn't touch the glass of the case. Now here we go. Now what you'll see here is on the stem, you'll see the screw down. That's the bit that you cut. Do not cut the opposite end, which fits into the mechanism to make sure all the components work. So what you do is just screw around the crown, make it nice and tight, and then place that into the case, into the mechanism. Make sure everything engages. Bit of wiggle. Don't force anything. Doesn't come, just take it out again, and there you'll see engagement. There you go. Now you get the 3 settings, and now here comes the measurement. Measure the protruding part of the stem. You may want to go slightly more than what you see, but take your time. Do this 2-3 times if you have to, because if you overcut the stem, you've got to throw it in the bin and start again. So again, do order more stems just in case. I was lucky enough I got it done in the first time. But again, patience. There you go, to pull it out. And now what you need to do is cut it very, very carefully. Now you see that's the washer from the crown. Don't lose that washer because it keeps it slightly waterproof, water resistance. Do not lose anything. Keep everything safe. Have little pots around so you can place things within pots. There you go, measuring that stem to be cut. It's looking at about 4 mil if I'm correct. And what I've done is I used some of the plastic that came with the packaging for the watch bits and pieces, dust it off. And this is where you want to put the locking glue, Loctite. Use the Loctite, place it on the plastic, because what it does, it will not bond until it comes away from oxygen. So once it's within the stem and the crown, that's when it will bond. And you only need a touch. Don't overdo it, otherwise you'll have a lot of glue on the actual stem, and it'll make a big mess. Again, just a little dab. tighten it up, make it nice and tight. Again, wipe off any excess of the Loctite glue. Use a bit of tissue, a bit of the glove, and then make sure it's all secure, nice and tight. Again, slowly placing it back into the case, into the movement, and presto, there you go. That's the mechanism. Here comes the waterproof seal and back case. There we go. Hardest bit's done. Now make sure it's nice and tight. Don't over tighten things on a watch, just gentle pressure. There we go. Beautiful. All working. Attach the bracelet. Bit fiddly sometimes. And you'll notice that the bracelet I have, it's slightly curved, so it fits snugly to the actual case. Couple of attempts, and hey presto, it does fit after a while. As I said, it's one of the most rewarding things you can do is building your own watch. I'd highly recommend it. Great for gifts. If you want to give someone a gift, I'd highly recommend making them a watch. And there we go, as I call it, Arctic Ice. Beautiful. Very satisfying. Hope you enjoyed the video. DM me for any information. Take care. Bye bye.